Welcome to our information processing lecture. Let's define some key terms. Cognitive process, learning versus memory, and storage. Cognitive process is any internal mental event and involves attention, interpretation, and remembering. Learning versus memory. Learning is the acquisition of new information. Memory is the ability to recall information that has been previously learned, while storage is the process by which new information is placed in memory. Now, what are the assumptions made for human information processing? The first assumption is that the process must be objective and scientific. Secondly, the learner must be actively involved in the learning process. Our third assumption is similar to the Bandura social learning theory, where it states that learning takes place internally and results in an internal mental change, not necessarily an external behavior change. Fourthly, learning is organized. Individuals' knowledge, belief, and attitudes are not isolated, but are associated and connected. Fifthly, the information processing theorist holds the view that learning is most likely to occur when individuals can relate new experience to the information they have acquired from previous experiences. Let's discuss the dual storage model of memory. There are three chambers in memory: the sensory register, the short-term memory, and the long-term memory. Now, information enters the sensory register, or the SM, through the environment and is held for a short period of time. If the information is processed in a particular way, it moves to the short-term memory, and then even there it is held for a few seconds. If the information is further processed in a particular way, it moves from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. The processing of information in the short-term memory requires information from the long-term memory as well. If a piece of information enters the sensory register or the short-term memory, but is not necessarily processed sufficiently to move to the next level, it is lost or forgotten. Whether information can be lost from the long-term memory is still debatable. What is the role that attention plays in memory? Attention is viewed as the process by which the learner selects some of the environmental input they receive for further cognitive processing. Let's look at the bottleneck effect. Broadbent model of attention predict we cannot consciously attend to all our sensory input at the same time. This limited capacity for paying attention is therefore bottlenecked. A bottleneck restricts the rate of flow. The narrower the bottle, the lower the rate of flow. Now, what are the implications of human processing and information processing for instruction? The first is encourage multiple representation for encoding. It is important that lecturers use varying teaching styles. Thirdly, organize information to maximize retrieval. Information should be organized in a logical sequence. Thirdly, link new material to prior knowledge. Use relevant analogies to convey your message. Fourthly, minimize the interference in the environment. Also, it's important that lecturers recognize the short-term memory limitation. We will now move on to look at learning styles. There are 3 learning styles: the visual, tactile, and auditory. For the remaining portion of our lecture, we will be looking at the visual and tactile learning styles.
Are you paying attention?
Yeah.
You watching that?
Yeah.
You seeing that, Ray? You catching that?
Yeah, falling on
Yeah?
the ground.
Okay, now what do I have left?
2 jacks, 1 8, 1 king, 1 6. 2 aces, 1 10, 1 9, 1 5.
1 5. Yeah. You are beautiful, man. Yeah.
When you focus on Kung Fu, when you concentrate, you stink. But perhaps that is my fault. I cannot train you the way I have trained the 5. I now see that the way to get through to you is with this.
Oh, great, because I'm hungry.
You are free to eat. Enjoy.
Hey!
I said you are free to eat. Have a dumpling.
Here are 5 memory strategies.
Your short-term memory is the capacity for holding small amounts of information in your mind for short periods of time. Your long-term memory can store information for as little as a few days to as long as a few decades. Consequently, you will be engaging both your short-term and long-term memory when studying. Your short-term memory will be active during the study process. Here are a few tips to help you do this effectively. 1. Connect materials to things that exist in your everyday life. It is much easier to remember complicated material if you can connect things you are studying to examples you see in your daily life. Consider ethylene, a plant hormone that increases ripening in plants. 2. It is easier to remember things by song, humor, and sex. The human mind more easily remembers information that is sexual, humorous, personal, etc., as opposed to arbitrary sequences. These are called mnemonic devices.
Every plant can do this.
This is stupid.
Rhymes, songs, jokes, and meaningful experiences that you can associate with your study material will be easier to remember than random information. 3. Space your practice times. Your short-term memory has limited capacity. Once it's full, the information has to be transferred to your long-term memory before you can continue to use your short-term memory. Don't expect yourself to be able to remember everything after studying for hours straight. Prepare short, productive practice times with periods of rest and/or activity in between to maximize your memorization capacities. 4. Break down larger tasks into smaller ones. Organize the subject you are studying into main ideas and make a plan to study each of these separately. You will remember things more effectively this way. 5. Understand as opposed to memorize. When possible, try to understand the concepts behind the material that you're studying instead of trying to memorize all the details.
4 divided by 2 is 2.
This way, when you come across questions that differ from the ones you have studied, you will have an easier time adapting to the new format. A helpful tip may be to try and generate your own examples when studying instead of using those discussed in class.
You sure you're done?